Yeah, sadly for us, you can't tell the difference in the days when we get 0 or 1 things done and the days when we do a half dozen. So it was pretty busy, but we feel good about what we were able to do.
A lot of people, the names Okafor and Noel, I'm sure you've been asked about this a lot. I'm sure they came up a lot in your conversations yesterday. I mean, was there at any point a discussion between you guys that, that one's kind of interesting?
Not really. We like those guys probably as much as anyone in the draft, and we've learned to like them even more since we've had them. So that seems hard to imagine.
We're talking with Sam Hinkie here. Sam, when Jerry got brought in here, there's a lot of questions about that. But when you got here, what was your original timeline, and are you still guys still on that timeline since Jerry's been here? Has it been altered at all?
Good question. I think I've said publicly several times. I think it's really hard to know. I think teams too often trick themselves into saying, hey, in X years or Y years we'll be at exactly this point. And what it does is it covers up all the uncertainty that's around that. Uncertainties around how your team will play and how your players will get injured and what transactions you'll be able to do. So we often try to zoom way out and say, what the key thing here is, like, how do you make great decisions and how do you put yourself in a position to really move forward? It's really hard to rebuild a team to try to get all the way back to the top, particularly from a starting point like where we started. And so how do you maximize your likelihood of making the best decisions you can? Because the truth is, you don't have to make 1 or 2 big ones. You have to make dozens and dozens and dozens of them over the years to get them to stack up in a way that can really build something special.
Well, Sam, I will be open and honest when I say this. I have been supportive of whatever is going on here. I hate calling it plan, process, or whatever.
Tell your friends. We could use some more. We appreciate it.
Well, I would say this. I don't like the premise, but I'm smart enough to understand that it is a smart way to go about it. How about that?
I would say the premise is simpler than you might think. You need really good players to win in our league.
Agreed.
And one way or another, you have to sort of find your way to them. There are avenues available to us in free agency and trade and the draft, and those don't come in equal measures. They come in different parts of the cycle for different teams. And so, that's our goal, is to try to, how do you put the building blocks in place to have something special? And that comes in lots of different forms, whether it's, loading up on second-round picks in a way that might help you uncover diamonds in the rough to try to make reasonable trades that move your organization forward, and then of course, the draft at the top.
Yeah, and the premise really would be that you need multiple good players. Some teams, I've tried to describe to the listeners, and I'll see if you agree with me, is they get that good player. I use Washington as an example. They get John Wall, and John Wall is so good by himself that he can bring that team to an area where they can't get a player really to match, to be his second guy, because he is too good by himself to be able to get another good player, right? I mean, so you almost have to be bad 3 times to get a chance at 3 good players.
Oh, I think there's all sorts of different ways to do it, and you can look back at teams that won the titles or teams that played deep into May and early into June, and sort of look at what their commonalities are. But to your point, yes, it's the best player in our sport is super important, but it's a team game, and our coaches are smart, and our opponents are smart, and so they're always trying to take away, your best advantage, and so you need to be able to sprinkle talent around that, and that's often with somebody else. Sometimes someone else who can get their own shot, or who can make a play, or who can make a play at the end of the game. We all know how different the games are, the first 40 minutes and the last 8, and how we had a game here this year where I think we were up 12 on the Cavs, when LeBron checked in at his normal mark in the fourth quarter. And we talked afterwards. I told Brett, I said the score was within 12, but the game wasn't within 12. Like, a 12-point lead as LeBron checks in is not a 12-point differential in the likelihood of the game. It's just, that's the moment in time right there, and now one of the best player in the world steps in, and the game's very different down the stretch. We saw it 2 years ago with Kyle Lowry here in Philadelphia. We had them down big, and I think he came in and scored 14 or 16 straight points and assisted on 5 more, right? And the game's a wrap because when the game counts, like, the best players can really stand out.
Here's a question. I don't know if you get asked a lot or never been asked before, but How does Sam Hinkie watch the Sixers games? I mean, are you cheering? Are you rooting for victory? I mean, I think that's very interesting.
I'm pretty even keeled. I would say I'm pretty even keeled. That might be a surprise. I tell people. I've told a lot of our coaches this over the years. I tell Brett this all the time, that I'm on the kiddie coaster, that he's on the roller coaster, and I'm on the kiddie coaster. Like I'm a little up and a little down. I'm really sanguine about the realities of our game. Like Jeff Van Gundy says it well. He says it's a make or miss league, right? If Mike Conley hits an off balance three to beat us 2 years ago, like our 15 guys and our 5 coaches and our front office, they're not any less men because of that. It just happened. It was probably a 25% shot, and maybe there's some things we could have done a little differently to minimize the chances of him taking that shot, but it just went in. And if he took 3 or 4 more, I don't think he'd hit them all. I think he hit that one, and we have to be able to live with that. The same is true for us on the opposite end. Sometimes we'll make some mistakes down the stretch, and Hollis hit a turnaround in Detroit to send us to overtime. Like those things happen in ways that we get to benefit from. Spencer hit that turnaround over his right shoulder right in front of the Milwaukee bench in 2013. Like those things happen too, and luck ends up on your side over a long period of time. It sort of evens out, and I'm okay with that.
What is something you feel that during your tenure here you guys have been unlucky about or with?
Oh.
Because I agree with you that luck plays a big part. I mean, I don't think Golden State realizes that Klay Thompson's Klay Thompson when they're drafting him, or Draymond Green's Draymond Green when they get him. That's lucky that that guy blossoms, right?
That's a good question. Luck's it's a super important part of it. It's an important part of all of our lives. I tell people, like, be born in this country, be born in this era, be born with your set of parents and all the advantages and schooling and the like that you have. Us unlucky. I mean, I think maybe an obvious one is sort of Joel and his foot not healing the way we would have hoped in his first year. I mean, I think things might have felt very different, even for us at the start of this year, had Embiid been able to be ready for his second year under contract and ready for his rookie year, and he wasn't. I think a lot of people maybe look at draft night for that, and I don't think about draft night that way. We've obviously picked third a couple of times in a row, but I sort of think if you look at the odds, like that's not a bad outcome at all. Like that's about in range of what you would have expected. I can imagine scenarios that would have been worse, and of course I can imagine scenarios that would have been better. But I think generally we've sort of been down the middle. I don't view us as like wildly lucky in any one place, and I don't view us as terribly unlucky anywhere so far. Most everything's been small.
Sam Hinkie's with us. Did you get calls for Sarge or Embiid?
Oh, we got calls for most every player on our roster, and I think we're sort of smitten with them, maybe more so than others, and that's fine. We acquired these guys to make them Sixers, not to do something else with them.
You're smitten with Sarge and Embiid, correct? Is that who you're referring to?
For sure, yeah, that was your question. Yeah.
Just making sure, because you said you got a lot of calls on a lot of guys, and you mentioned today during your press conference that some of them, that the fact that people are calling about more players on your team is a good sign. How many guys on this team do you find to be part of a longer-term process or future with your team?
We hope as many as possible. We're not sure yet. We think a lot of these guys have their best basketball in front of them, and we try to, help them get there as fast as we can, to try to help them get down the learning curve of the NBA and understand NBA refs and NBA spacing, and Brett says how to navigate a corridor, like how to shoot a corner three or attack a closeout off of a corner three, A, without stepping out of bounds, B, with getting to the rim in a dribble, and C, how do you finish over a shot blocker when he meets you there, right? We do the same on the opposite side. How do you teach a guy that your instinct is to block a shot, but how do we teach him verticality in a way that he can protect the rim without giving up a foul, where he can leave his feet if he doesn't get there in time to make a charge, but have a good chance of not getting a foul called on him and still defend the rim. I think it's a little hard to know how that will play out, but that's the kind of thing we focus on day to day.
Sam Hinkie's with us. I opened up the show today, and there's been a lot made of Jerry's comments that they're going to bring in basketball minds. whatever that means. I feel like is that the way the NBA is going, though? I mean, Golden State's the best team in the league. They got a couple guys over there kind of collaborating. I mean, is that what you feel the direction of this front office is going? More of a collaboration effort just to get more opinions?
Oh, I think even Jerry being here is part of that collaboration so far. I think there aren't so many lone cowboys anymore, really anywhere in the league. You see more and more that the best decisions come from the best ideas, and those often sprinkle up from great debate and from people with diverse backgrounds. That's been key to what we've been doing so far, and I think that'll be key to the way the Sixers will go going forward. Yeah, and obviously yesterday I said, and I have no idea, obviously nobody does, everybody wants to know, but I'm sure you guys aren't willing to indulge that information, but I said yesterday— Are you suggesting we wouldn't tell everything we know? I feel like I'm going to put you on the couch and get more out of you here, Sam. Uh-oh. No, I described that yesterday. I said that was a very Sam deal. I mean, you got a second-round pick. You saved an opportunity you got over that floor, so you saved a little bit of money in that situation. That deal felt very Sam Hinkie-ish. But I'm sure you called Jerry, and, I mean, does Jerry say, yeah, Sam, go ahead and do that? Or do you say, I'm doing – how did yesterday work out for you guys? Good. I think that's a good question. Like, I don't think about those as about me at all. I think about those as like what the Sixers are about, and I think I really want the Sixers to be about making great decisions and making great decisions as they come to them, because somebody has to focus on how do you build the organization, how do you build the team, and how do you put all the pieces together. The kind of trade we made yesterday and the kind of trades that we looked at, and we looked at some that are a very different kind, those all come from the sort of the guts of our organization, of like all the people pulling in the same direction about how do we explore every opportunity. And sometimes those opportunities might look like to you like 180 degrees opposite, that like, oh, you were doing that, but then you were doing this. It's like, yes, we have to be able to context switch, and we have to be able to look at two different things at any one time, because the moment you go into the deadline and say, hey, we're only doing deals like this, right, and just lop off the other half, well, guess what? There's some gems in that other half, right? It might not be the pool you want to be playing in. It might not be quite as ripe a place to be picking from. But the moment you just split it in two and say we're only doing this, and the world is black and white, and so we're only choosing out of this bucket, it's like all of a sudden you just threw out a lot of value. Yeah. Ed, is there a time where you guys, during this process in terms of the trade deadline, decided that now's not the right time to get that proven players? I mean, who knows whether reports are true, but there were some veteran players that were linked, Blake Griffin, Teague. Was now not the time to go in that direction and get an established player? We do think a lot about how everything fits together. And so if you do step A, what happens to step B? If you don't do step A, what step Bs are available to you? How does one set of decisions open doors or close doors? I think that's really critical. It's quite easy to look around the league and say, hey, these two guys would really help our team, right? Of course, they would help our team. They're good players, and they're good players that are helping the teams they're on. Somebody's got to be thinking about even more than that, like how do they help our goal, and how do they help us get where we're trying to go? Because somebody that just helps our team for now may not fit into the longer term view, and just leave us empty in the end. You're pretty good at this, Sam. You should do it more. we try to be careful about what we say. Everybody always clamors for more, and I always the paranoid in me always worries about the Sam Hinkie bots on the other end of the phone, parsing my language for what we're going to do in the second round next year. I have been criticized of being on your payroll, so I haven't got my check from you yet, but I'm certainly here. We pay in tickets, actually. If anytime you'd like to come to the game, you can email me, and we'll have you over. We'll be happy to. I would say this. We opened up with this. I would say an 8-win team might quite possibly a top 10 NBA story. I don't know if that's about the state of the league or the fact that there's actual real live hope. It is crazy. It really is. It's crazy, and it speaks to the popularity of our league, and it speaks to I think how smart our fans are over and over and over in our league, and then for the Sixers in particular. I think I hear from so many fans, and by the way, I hear from fans who are really frustrated a lot of times, as you might guess, and I hear from fans who are like wildly supportive, who come to me at our games or come to me when I'm out in Center City and say, like, we've finally, like, we've been looking for somebody like you, like, finally somebody that can, like, actually focus on the big picture and actually try to get us there. Like, that, I remember what it was like in '83. I remember what it was like in '01, and I want to go back. And I don't want to pretend. I don't want to pretend. I want us to, like, get all the way back. I think, to your point, I think it's crazy for a team that just hasn't been able to win more than we've been able to win so far on the floor, to sort of the amount of interest that we have. And we really see it in Philadelphia. We really see just how many of our fans are with us.
I'll tell you, from '06 to '12, I had no interest, could care less, and I'm a huge fan. And the day that you guys took over and finally had a direction, I came back and I saw more wins in '06 and '12. I care more today. That says something, right?
I tell people who are novice or new to the NBA or novice fans, I tell them there's nothing like an important playoff game. There's just not, and like a game to get back home court advantage after you lost a game on the road you shouldn't have, or game one when you've got home court advantage in the second round of the playoffs, or to be 2-2 and come home deep in the playoffs. Like, those aren't memories people soon forget. And if you think that feels a little bit like game 48 on the schedule does, you're crazy.
He's Sam Hinkie, and we appreciate a couple minutes of his time as the 76ers play tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans. You can hear it right here on 97.3. Sam, appreciate it. Hopefully we can do it again.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you having me on.